Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome in the A Foundation, and welcome to our first talk of the season in the context of our new exhibition, What's the Word Johannesburg? An exhibition that is open since today and that dives into the complex city of Johannesburg through the lenses of 9 young photographers from South Africa. We will present a talk this evening between the curator of the exhibition, Emilie Demon. She's a curator and also the director of AFRONOVA Gallery, a gallery based in Johannesburg with a focus on artists from Africa. She will engage a conversation with 3 artists that are part of our exhibition and that have come here from South Africa to Brussels. Alice Mann, she's a South African photographer based in London. She is part of the exhibition with the series about the majorettes, the drum majorettes, the drummies, in the first rooms of the exhibition. Thembinkosi Hlatshwayo, he is showing, he's also a South African photographer based in Johannesburg, and he's showing the series Slaghuis in the show, a compelling series about the place he grew up, the tavern of his parents. And then we also have Vuyo Mabheka. Hello. He's a South African photographer based in Thokoza, Johannesburg, and he is showing a Poppyhuizen series in the show where he combines drawing, collage, photography to recreate fictional memories of his childhood. I would like to invite you also at the end to ask questions. There will be a moment for the questions to the artists, so please take advantage of the fact that they're here and ask them anything you want. So Emilie will make some space for that at the end of the talk. So enjoy.
So, hello, my name is Emilie Demon. I'm French, Japanese, and I live in Johannesburg since 2007. So I'm very happy to be here with you and to be able to have a conversation with Alice Thembinkosi and Vuyo. I'm very... so we had the opening yesterday, it went very well, the feedback was very good. And I'm so happy because when we started the conversation with the foundation, it kept on changing from an idea to another, and then they invited me like just to choose artists that I wanted to exhibit. So I chose the 9 photographers that you saw in the exhibition, and that's really, really moving. And, you know, like when you think about African photography, South African photography, and when you go to the art fairs, usually, I mean, some artists are well represented, but you tend to see always the same artist. And at the foundation, they really let me choose whoever I wanted to choose. So the result is like a mix of more established artists, more young, I mean, artists who are younger in their career, and some even never showed, never ever, except in Johannesburg. So yeah, I think as you could see in the exhibition, you can see really 9 different stories that reflect the complexity of Johannesburg, very personal, intimate stories. And maybe you can, Vuyo, maybe you can begin with your story, how you maybe started photography, and how you... I know that we met in a project called Of Sol and Joy, which is based in it's a township based in southeast of Johannesburg. It's photo school like where everybody is welcome to participate. And we have mentors, professionals teaching photography to very, very young photographers. I mean, students who never, sometimes they never used a camera. And the youngest one, I believe, can be sometime 9 years old, you know. And yeah, and that's really a special project. It's been existing for 15 years, and it allows the kids from the township to have a safe space, first to be able to use the camera and document their environment. So it's often like just documentary photography. And then suddenly they want to express something, a trauma or something that bothered them, and they begin to tell a different story, much more intimate, like you see here. And I've been lucky enough to be part of this project for almost 10 years. And it's really incredible how you can see, and Alice gave a workshop there for 2 weeks. Maybe you can talk about this later also, because she gave a workshop about portraiture. And it's magic how you can see each one of them being quite, I don't know the word in English, but shy or pudique about their story. And suddenly when they trust you and they share their personal story, which is often difficult in the township, and yeah, like then they begin to play with the medium, and like you did, Vuyo, because you were doing documentary photography, you were doing self-portraiture of yourself, which was already like kind of experimental, and then you started that series called Poppy House that you're gonna see some images here.
So hi everyone. My name is Vuyo Mabheka. I'm a visual artist from Thokoza, South Africa. I started doing photography in 2017. I was still in high school through the Of Soul and Joy photo project. And I have been I think it's 8 years now with the project. Now I'm also like a teacher. I teach back at the project, like the younger students, and assist them on on a daily basis. Sometimes because we only meet on Saturdays, once every Saturday. So during the week, because we all live in the same community, when they need assistance, we are there as their seniors as well. Pretty much something that the likes of Thembinkosi and some of my seniors were helping us with. And yeah, like Emilie said, the project was mainly focused on like documentary photography, in a way, as a way of teaching you how to engage with the people in the community and how to respectfully create images. I then turned the lens towards myself in my second. It was my first project, which was. About it pretty much explored like the absence of a father figure as well, but from a feminine perspective, exploring like the life I'm living with my mother, and it later grew to become what we are seeing today, which is the project titled Poppy Ace. Poppy Ace basically is an Afrikaans term for a dollhouse, where I use drawing, photography, and collage to create images of the parts of my life that were never photographed, or those that could never be photographed, such as memory and fantasy. And in my images, I use 7 images of myself that only exist. I only have 7 images of myself from the family archive. And in a way, I can say it's a, for me, it's a visual diary where I where I revisit my own childhood in a way. I can say also it's a conversation between the modern Vuyo Mabheka and the young boy who struggled fitting in and who had to deal with a lot of like the feeling of neglection as far as the absence of a father figure is concerned. And in my images, I use also I draw like a faceless figure, be a male figure, a faceless male figure whose body is forever changing to sort of like symbolic. It's a symbolic representation of my father who's still alive but has never been there in my life. And yeah, I guess. I think.
Yeah, actually, you can also see the book, if I may add, like in the lobby, Poppy House, where you wrote a text to your family. So Poppy House is also a way to express your frustration towards how you grew up, the memories you wished you had with your father, with your mother that weren't around. And then it makes me think about also, you know, like Thembinkosi, so who also started photography at the Of Sol and Joy photo project with also documentary photography. And then one day you arrived with a slack house, which means abattoir. And it's a place where, I mean, it's a place that your parents own, right? And that now, because I know that your father recently passed away, like you're in charge of this shibin, which is in Soweto or close to Soweto, so which is a township. And I remember you said like growing up, like everybody around you was like, yeah, wow, it's so cool, like you grew up in a shibin, you must like have fun, there's music all the time. But then you can see with the 4 photographs that are exhibited that clearly it's not that fun. So can you tell us more about how you decided to start this body of work? What, you know, because it was in you and suddenly you decided. I remember the day you showed it to me and you were very sensitive about it, very afraid to talk about it, a bit ashamed to talk, to share this story of yours. So can you tell us more how you felt, why you needed to begin this body of work?
So I guess you know, there was always I guess this well, we used to play with my friends in the yard. I remember when we'd find like used condoms, and they would ask me like, you know, what happened, what are these? I mean, we all knew what those were, you know, but I remember the shame that I would feel, you know, I mean, around such, you know. We used to play in the tavern, you know, that was one of the like the coolest things, you know. Like some of the adults would, you know, when it's not busy, my dad would like teach us pool table and all of that. So, and whenever something cool happens, you know, it was easier to speak about it, you know, with family or with my friends. However, the other things that I could not speak about was, I mean, that which I had mentioned, where we're finding a used condom, you know, of course, they make fun of whatever situation that took place. And some of the things that I could not speak about was me waking up to, a dead person in the yard, and how I felt like disappearing, you know. I felt like like not having that home as my home, you know. Like I wanted my home to be like, to 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 be as my friends' homes, you know, without the I guess the contestation around the idea of home being a public place and a private place, because we home was not private, you know, it was more of a public place, you know. And so within the community, you know, it was also labeled as laches, you know, which also really I carried the burden of shame around that word, the burden of anger, you know, the burden of guilt, you know. I felt that like home was taking so much away from like, I don't know, from us, who live there. I felt it was taking away from the community. Um, and so the work was really about beginning this conversation that I could not easily do. And it was also, I guess, an attempt to heal as well. Because I remember how slageis, just the term slageis, was so heavy on me. You know, I remember when Jablani Lamin, who is a project manager at the Of Soul and Joy, asked me to title this project Slageis. I was petrified. I could not, because I had not dealt with the word itself. So I felt that calling the work Slageis was also like me claiming myself back, empowering myself, you know, and also now photographing in the very space that I want to escape from, the very space that I want to disappear from, was also that a taking back of myself, a taking back of parts that I felt the tavern, took away from me. And so I would remember, like in encounters and events that would happen in the space, and I would photograph from that space. And after photographing, I would print the images out, and like this image, I put it back in the tavern to have the image recorded the tavern physically and on its own.
It's just for people who don't know about South Africa and Johannesburg, because you have like the CBD, the Central Business District. Then around it, you have the suburbs. And then further behind the gold mine, I mean, like where people were digging to find gold, you have the township. So, during the apartheid, all the colored, not only the black people, but it was organized like Indian community, black people, Asian, were parked behind, very far away. And then when the apartheid ended, all the white people from the CBD, because they were there, and it was like jazz. I mean, I didn't live it, but jazz concert. It was very bohemian. But all these people got afraid that at the end of the apartheid, like black people would enter in a civil war, like what we call the Schwarzgewahr. So they all moved in the suburbs. And now it's mainly black people in the central business district, the white suburb, even if in Johannesburg it's quite mixed. Cape Town is slightly different, and Alice can tell us a bit more about that, maybe. And so when Thembinkosi is talking about the Slaghuis, the tavern, it's really not like just a bar. It's like really only black people go, and certain kind of people or people of the community, but then it's like really after a certain time, like you can see in Sibusiso's work in the exhibition, that time where in the township from the normal day of work, and that time where it's becoming a bit darker, and then entering the night, then really like, I know because I go in Thokoza and usually you say, Emilie, it's time for you to leave because it's gonna become a bit like rough. So it's just to give you a bit of context. It's like really, like still very, of course the apartheid is over, but it's still organized in a way that is tricky. But I wanted to ask you about the technique that you use, like for example on this image.
Yeah, so yes, I would photograph, and then I would print the images and put them back in the tavern. Have the customers ash on them or put their beers on them, and then I would re-photograph the images. And some of the images I would work on myself physically, So there was this idea of treating the image as a surface, as a recording board, as a wall, or a recording body again, So, and yeah, I also found that like physically working on the images also provided like a cathartic kind of thing to it. And also it was also informed by, I guess, the term itself, slagreis, like the violence of it. And it also goes back to the the generation markings, the intergenerational markings or intergenerational trauma where experiences or memories are passed down, from, perhaps my grandfather, my dad, myself, and so this kind of like marking speaks to that, where the customers also come to the tavern and mark the space in a certain way, and the tavern marks me as the person that lives there, and emphasizing on that, I mark the image as well, but also it can like be also symbolic of the inner world, or how I was marked by the tavern, or how the tavern extended into myself as well.
Thank you. And because, when you enter the exhibition, you can see this image with the music. And so this is the series Drummies from Alice Mann here. I wanted to use this image because I think it really, talking about Thembinkosi and Vuyo, who are based in Thokoza, Alice, who is like based in Cape Town, documenting some drummies, but this image in particular, like representing this young generation, the future of South Africa, like what we call the born free, which I don't really like. I don't know if you like this expression, because depends where you are born, which color you are born, etc., which gender you are born. And in this image, yesterday I was talking about in South Africa, like the population, you have, let's say, black, white, then you have the colored, Indian, Asian, Asian, and it's like 75% of the population is black people, then you have 15, then you have the colored people, which has mixed people, but generation after generation, many are in Cape Town, and then the Asian. And here on this image, you can see like, it's like reversed, but I love the way they all look back to us, but also I know that like Alice, when she did that series, she did a collaborative work, and over the years, and I know like these girls are not from how do you say, like it's more like from also from townships, because you have also townships of white people. It's not only for black people. But Alice, yes, can you tell us how you you started this this series? Why? Like why also you felt the need to go there and to document these young girls? Yeah.
I think as a female photographer working with young women in South Africa, which I think is still a place where it's not an easy place to be growing up as a woman. There's still very high rates of violence against women. And I think it's still quite a hegemonic society. I think it's sort of quite old-fashioned in a lot of ways. And it was really important to me to create images that counteracted this kind of stereotype of, these young women as victims and as disempowered. And I think also, I worked with teams in many different kind of spaces and communities, but in a lot of the teams, the children were coming from, you know, disadvantaged communities where they don't have a lot of opportunities. And, you know, obviously growing up as a young woman is not easy. So it was really important to me that I could capture the way that being part of the team kind of emboldened and empowered them, and it gave them a dignity. And I think that was very obvious from when I first started photographing them. They would put their uniforms on and their whole sort of body language would change. And you can tell that they felt good, they felt amazing. And I think they had a lot of confidence because of the nature of being a drum majorette. You have to perform and you have to be very strong in your mind to, you know, pull off these very complicated routines in front of so many people. And so I think I really wanted to try and capture that. And I really wanted them to look strong and sometimes almost a little bit intimidating in the images. You know, I like to print the prints a bit larger, and often I would stand below them because I wanted them to feel, you know, very strong. And it's the way they felt about themselves in those instances. And I think it was important that the images could try and do that again. You know, they look cute, they look beautiful in their outfits, but it was more about their mindset that I wanted to try and capture through the images.
Yeah, like you can, what I love in Alice's work is like you have just what you just said, like, you know, empowered young girls. And sometimes it just, you can see they feel so comfortable with Alice and they're like laughing, smiling and dancing. Because again, to refer to another artist like Sibusi Sobeka, again, like, you know, you see two kids watching over the wall and it looks like it's staged. But actually, you know, being like Alice and I, women, being white, going in the, I mean, I'm considered white in South Africa. When I go in the township, the kids look exactly like the kids, you know, on the picture. So to be able to create a connection takes a lot of time. Like you have to commit and to go back again and again because you have many people going, stealing pictures, you know, and without going back. But Alice, you worked like and went back there like for years. And I know now you're working on different projects again to document the youth, you know, always empowered, always in, you know, like places or activities that we don't expect. Like this series is called The Night is Young. This picture is one of my favorites. And you know, like this prom, like bal de promotion, like you have in the US, actually you have them in South Africa. So it's a very important moment. But it says a lot too, because, you know, when we talked about this, the prom balls in Thokoza, in the Of Soul and Joy project, some people were like, yeah, these photos are cool. So they were happy to see them, but at the same time they said, but we never had the chance to attend because, so it's like kind of a fantasy because you need a dress, etc. And I remember you had a conversation about that. And can you tell us more about this series too?
So this series I've been working on for a number of years. I'd like to work over a long period of time on the projects that I'm sort of engaging with. And it's focusing on sort of the South African version of a prom, which we call matric balls. And we have it in our final year of high school, usually kind of just before or after like the final exams of that year. And so it's a very kind of highly charged moment for the high school students that are there. They've got a lot going on. A lot of them have just turned 18, so they're entering adulthood. And it was really interesting to me, I think, across the different communities and economic spaces and, you know, the different cultures in South Africa, it's a very consistent thing that most schools, if they're able to, will have a matric ball, and it is sort of something that everyone, I think, aspires to. Like, you know, in high school, you see the older students, and it's always something you sort of like, oh, that'll be me one day, and it's like a very exciting thing, and there's a lot sort of attached to it. And I also realized in some of the communities kind of going, you know, it also marks the fact that you've made it to matric, because some students don't, you know, get to that stage in their high school career. So there's that kind of also attached to it. And then, yeah, I think what Emilie said was a really good point. When I was doing the workshop, a number of the students, you know, they expressed the fact that they wished they could have gone, but they just, either the school didn't have one or they couldn't afford it, because it is, you know, there's often a lot of expenses attached to it. And so just the idea of going to one is quite aspirational often. And then on the night, it's this kind of strange mix between the attendees feeling very mature, but they also, you know, they're young, they're 17, 18 for the girls. It's like the first time they've got their full hair and makeup done, and they're in these like elaborate ball gowns and heels, and they're like a bit awkward and they can't walk. And, you know, the boys are so smart and everyone's a bit nervous and they don't recognize each other sometimes because they're so made up. And it's like there's so much kind of attached to it on these nights. They're very, very charged, and they also kind of like everyone feels like celebrities. And again, that might not represent their reality, but in those moments, they just feel like another version of themselves. And I can see they feel so hopeful, and there's, yeah, so much sort of attached. And I think I was really interested in exploring this phenomenon in South Africa. I think there have been many projects about, you know, proms, and I think it's a theme that we are very familiar with. And I'm often interested in looking at these kinds of things in South Africa and the way that these kind of common themes play out in South Africa, because I think also it relates to my larger interest of wanting to show South Africans in kind of everyday situations and moments where they feel good, and to try and challenge, I think, a lot of the very negative documentary type imagery that we often associate with South Africa. Yeah.
No, I'm so happy to be here with the artist. I'm looking at you, and I don't know, it's like, because, you know, they arrived 2 days ago. Yesterday we were at the restaurant, and you keep on talking to each other. I mean, it's been years that you didn't see each other. We stay in the same hotel. They talk, they go to the museum, and I think, you know, like also like Vuyo was talking, like now he teaches at the Of Sol and Joy project. You know, he started there a few years ago. He's now traveling, and now he wants to, you know, like now, right now, there's many of them like checking the Instagram and being like, wow, like the exhibition looks great. And when you will go back, you will teach. And so yeah, like I don't know, like I would like to know, like when you travel like this and you go back there, what do you want to share with them? Like how do you, share your experience? How you see what I mean?
I think with me, I think there's always an interesting bravery to tap into whenever you are in a foreign space, you know, whether it being you being exposed to specific ideas that you would not otherwise be exposed to in South Africa, even if maybe, you know, in exhibition spaces and exploring just the high ceiling architecture, for instance, and all of that, you know. I think there's really something implanted in that sense. And there's always also potentially, because you are in a space that is where they don't know you, you know, photographically, you know, there's a potential of you unlocking. So
Sorry, when you say when they don't know you.
also when
Here.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
you know, you are not known, you know, and so there's a potential of being whomever you want to be, you know, or perhaps unveiling certain parts of you that are otherwise boxed in familiar spaces, you know, and also like artistically. I mean, I guess I also am referencing residency spaces. Also, you know, I was recently in a residence in Miami, so and it was also like a place of non-comfort, you know, but it was quite interesting that it really developed my process of working where I, because the people there are not exposed to I guess the works that it's like slages and the specific works that are known in South Africa. So I could really fearlessly delve into ideas that also were not so comfortable for myself, you know. So I think new spaces or traveling does that, you know, for one. So you go back to your hometown, or you can't kind of like empowered in that sense, you know. Just a simple, like I'm saying, you know, like just being exposed to a specific architecture, you know,
Yeah, but
does something to you.
sorry, but when you say about discomfort, like I remember for Vuyo, you know, when he won the Image Vevey, he won the special jury prize of Image Vevey. So it was your first trip, first time you were taking a plane, first time you were going abroad, and boom, Switzerland, Vevey. I mean, that's very different from Thokoza. And I remember you said, can you come? Because there will be only white people. I don't know them. I will stay at the hotel and I won't go out. But then, you know, it's also because if like, and I remember we had many conversation, and you know, you were talking about Poppy Hoyes and you had a solo show and it was really nice. But I forgot what I wanted to say. But yeah, can you tell us about this first experience and discovering? I remember you discovering your solo show there. Yeah.
Yeah, so coming from Off Soul and Joy, or maybe let me start before joining Off Soul and Joy. So in the township, how it's structured, basically, it's a space where there's not really like a lot of dreams and hope. So if you are still at school, like you are only limited to dreaming about being a doctor, or you're working for the government, which is a popular thing. You work for the government, you can do as you please, or maybe you just like the everyday jobs that people would do. So art is not even a thing in the township. So even at school, they tell you that you are just playing. So like yeah, so even I myself, like I didn't grow up as someone who I really didn't want to be anything, you know. I just wanted to finish my matric, like and then just see what I can do afterwards. So like when I joined Off Soul and Joy, it's where I yeah. So when I joined Off Soul and Joy, um, I was not really interested in photography or art in that way. I just wanted to be there because I heard that they give you a camera. So I've always been interested in like having these gadgets, because I mean in the township, if you have a camera, I mean it's expensive. So you feel like someone who's important when you have something like that. So by the time I got to use like the camera, look, I had already understood what photography was, and what its purpose was, and how to create images. And we had opportunities where we attended art fairs before we could even use the camera, so that you can see what this camera can do for you. And I had my first exhibition in 2018 when I was exhibiting like self-portraiture. So that's I guess I started becoming more confident through like the Off Soul and Joy program, because now I was seeing my name in newspapers. So that's when I started believing that photography could be a thing. And fast forward to me winning the Grand Prix special jury in Image Veve, like it was a huge milestone in my life, and I was about to travel for the first time alone without my project manager Jabulani Dlamini. So we we basically never go anywhere without him. So like if he's not part of the exhibition, or maybe if he doesn't know anything about an exhibition going on somewhere, we basically don't go, because mostly we use his car. He's the one who drives us around. He takes us. We're always with him. So going to Switzerland, it was it was something. I was really nervous. We were having conversations with Rafael and Stefano almost every month, but I still felt like I didn't know what to expect when I get there, because I mean it's all white people, and I was the only black person, African, participating in that exhibition, other than Edson, who lives in Portugal, which is an established artist. So for me, like in South Africa, we never really get to have this kind of setup with white people where we just sit and having conversation. So you only see them passing by with their cars, maybe in town or some very fancy places in Johannesburg. So yeah, I was really nervous, but
No, no, please.
oh yeah, so I was really nervous. So and then I got there. Stefano was a very friendly guy, funny guy. Like it was.
Yeah, but I just wanted to, because it's important, I think, like, because it's very rare to have, like young artists talking about who they are, where they come from, the difficulties the challenge we have to face. But also I wanted to, because also the way I work as AFRONOVA is like, I don't work with many artists because it's really full commitment. I'm alone in the gallery. But when I choose to work with an artist, is because I believe like it's for a long time, and we can travel together and meet collectors, meet an audience, do art fairs, visit museums, etc. And also like with Alice, you did that workshop in Thokoza for 2 or 3 weeks, and I attended a few. And in the project, again, there's not like, there were maybe 1 girl or 2 girls, and actually they're not there anymore. So it's mainly guys. But I remember you gave a workshop about portraiture, and Alice has a bit more of experience in the photography, so you shared your knowledge and you accompanied them. And is it okay to tell us a bit more about how you felt about that workshop?
I didn't really know what to expect. I had known obviously a lot about Soul and Joy, and I had met Jabulani before quite a few times, and also Sibusiso and Linda Kuhle, who are part of the program. I had known them for a few years before. So I knew it would be good, but I hadn't done anything like that before. I was a bit nervous because I kind of said to Emilie, I don't really think I have much to share with anybody. But I think it's so organized. It really is. I think the way that Jab was such a good leader, and you can see how much respect everybody has for him. And I think he made it very easy for me to feel like I knew what to do. But yeah, I mean, I don't really feel like I did much, to be honest. It was more just about making space for the students, and sort of we had an introduction to everybody's work, and then over the the 2-week or 3-week, I can't remember, over the period, they would each kind of develop an idea and I would help them and we'd do walks, and it was just very sort of simple things I would often assist with. But I think it also reminded me about the fact that I had to learn these things. And I think sometimes when you've been doing, I've been, I guess, taking pictures now for over 10 years. So I sort of forget that I learned these things too. It feels a bit natural now. And I think it's really good to remind yourself that simple little tricks, you can help people with these things. But I think I was also I was amazed by how good everybody's projects were. Like, I can't remember how many participants there were, but everybody had such a varied, different story, and the way that they were wanting to express it was also just completely different. I was sort of like, again, I was unsure if I would need to like offer variation, or, I didn't have experience in that way. So I was a little bit nervous about, having to do that. But I think I let them really guide me, honestly. And I think the quality of the projects, and also how much I saw everybody progress in the 2 weeks. Like, I think, just really, really talented students. And I think everybody's there because they love photography and they want to learn. And I think, as a photographer, it's really nice to spend time with people who are so passionate and excited. And it made me feel that too again. I think, I think it felt very invigorating to be in the presence of other photographers who cared so much and who I could see were like so into what they're doing. And I think, I found it very inspiring. And I told Emilie I'm planning on coming back quite soon. I hope that.
Thank you. So I don't know if you have any questions, or if you have each other questions, or please.
I wanted to ask you a question regarding the curation of the exhibition, because you said that you had all the freedom to decide on the artists and the work that you show here. And I wanted to know, how did you make this choice? And how did you build the story of the exhibition? What was basically the message that or the story that you really wanted to bring to us in Belgium? And what was the message basically that you tried to compose?
I really wanted to include so I'm involved in that Of Soul and Joy photo project. So I often go there, and it allows me to stay in tune really with the real stories, almost the behind the scenes of a city, because when you're working as a gallerist, traveling, and, sometimes it feels a bit like you're not in tune with the people, but more with the image, the result of it, which is like, just an image without what is around all of it, what it means to, go like Alice does, and what it means, like the work of Poppy Hoy. So I really wanted to have 9 very intimate stories, very different visually, but also the stories. And I could do 20, but I had to, so I chose 9 photographers that for me, the stories were like meaningful. It's a mix of age, it's a mix of everything. So, and of course, it's a conversation we had with the foundation, and so I guess that's how I chose the photographers. And then inside which bodies of work, what did I want to choose? I'd say like quite organically, like for Jabulani Dlamini, which is a series in the narrow corridor. It's like, so Jabulani, so his work is really based on how to deal with memory, trauma, like, so I wanted to have a bit of real archival work. So when he goes to Sharpeville to talk with the people who share a personal story about what they were doing during the massacre. And then I wanted to mix it with like the cemetery, like the 69 deaths that are buried there. And then I want, like, the black and white small pictures are about performing. So he asked the young people to perform the Sharpeville massacre, even if they didn't live it, but it's just by hearing it. And then I wanted to include like a picture which is a bit more, include the notion of hope with that kid, like, but still like the reality is behind, in front of him. It's like all destroyed, everything has to be built, but it's still soft. He's sitting, he's appeased, he's looking at the sky. So it's a mix always of, for me, Johannesburg is a mix of love and hate, hope and despair, like anger and joy. Like it's really a skin deep, like, you know, just to go in a place where you have like a rugby match, you know, you have like all the people mixed, you know, singing together, but the next day it's like, you know, hate. And so it's not easy to summarize like the energy of Johannesburg. So I wanted to capture the energy, I guess, and that goes via each artist, and I guess a relationship I built with each one of them, knowing the work, but knowing where they're coming from, where they want to go, and how they want to express their relationship with Johannesburg, and also selfishly my relationship to Johannesburg since I arrived in 2007.
What does I mean, what does your process entail, and what does it do to you, also, if it does anything, you know?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not used to speaking about my work sitting down, so it's yeah, yes. So my process. So when I started doing this series of work, basically, I was avoiding like to confront like a confrontation with my own emotions, and because at that time I started creating this work, me and my brother like were not on speaking terms, you know, because like I said, like art in the black culture in South Africa where I'm from, it's not something that is seen as a real career. So every once in a while, he was the kind of a person who would say some negative stuff about what I was doing, which is like photography, telling me to go and get a real job. So in a way, I wanted to sort of erase his memory from the family archive, because he has one image of himself as a child. I have 7. So at that time, I just wanted to destroy that image so that it doesn't exist anymore. But I changed my mind and took out, which is this image. I cut it out from the actual picture, and I think that's where more ideas started coming through, because when I had this figure and it was on a blank paper, I realized that now I did not belong anywhere. So that's when also the next step was drawing, because of I had to create my own world where I can decide what happens and when and how it happens. So as far as what the process is doing to me, I was not comfortable with sharing the story at first, because it's about me. It's something that I have never even had the opportunity to sit down with my family members and express how I feel, how I felt growing up in the family as a kid. So over the years, because we have at Offsoul and Joy, we often refer to ourselves as a family, as much as we're not really related by blood, but it's a safe space where even if you don't have anything to show us, but you have something that you're going through, we can sit around and have a conversation around that. So over the years, the project itself has become like a, a healing process for me, because I am more comfortable with speaking about my childhood than when I started doing the project, and mainly because of like behind my head is like. It is easy to just imagine what could happen in the image itself, unlike when I'm photographing something that's real, and then so I would have to face some real issues, and usually you'd be photographing other people like in documentary photography. So what I found difficult was photographing the other while I'm speaking about myself, because like there was this disconnection also going back to my childhood where I didn't have like um, much time to spend with my peers, and so as a, like I don't really have many relationships with people. So yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but yeah, I'm hoping to heal someday. I haven't met like most of my family members ever since I became an artist. So the only thing they know about me is that I'm now traveling, and I haven't. So the only person that I've like we've never really had a conversation, which is my mother, because I stayed with her. But even no matter how much I explained what the work was about, um, to her it was, she never really got to understand what the narrative was, because of like also I think the having to explain to her the concept that it's a it's a dollhouse.
No, I remember when we did that book, you wrote a text and you were a bit like harsh with your family. And you said, okay, now I have to make them read the text. And I said, if so they need to accept your text. But I was like, I don't know about that. And then I asked you now, I said, wait for the book to be ready. Then it's an object, it's beautiful with a text. And then you give that to them. And then I asked you, did you give the book? And you say, not yet. So you didn't yet, you know.
Yes, yes. So I didn't like my mother has seen the book, but I mean she can read, but so I guess it's a matter of like I know Jabu would say like sometimes there's someone who's indoors looking outside the window, and then there's someone who's outside looking on the other side of the window. So like I can almost say like there's two sides to the story. So how I experienced it, my mother, instead of understanding like okay, this is how he felt as a child, but like she always wants to justify what was happening in a way. So we never really get anywhere with the conversation, because now I'm trying to explain how I felt and she's trying to justify it, and because we don't really have like that strong mother and child relationship, I end up angry, and when I'm angry I don't really want to go forward with the conversation. I just leave and prefer my own space. So it's still a conversation that I have to work on having with my family members.
So, so with me, I think my dad found. I mean, because the thing is, I feel that they saw the images before they were produced, because I would photograph in the tavern and they were there most of the time. Because some of them are self portraits. Some of them I would ask like the customers and all of that. And I'd say that they were. So there was this one in the early works. There was this one image where I was hanging. And then, so I put a self timer, and my dad was like, when it was passing, he was asking, so what is that? Is that you killing yourself? You know? And so there was an spoken about understanding of what this was, and because I remember when my mother asked my brother to to follow my example of finding an outlet, because my brother had fallen into drugs because of, like, you know, the anger and all of that, you know. So, and he was too angry, and I had found photography as an outlet, you know, and she understood that, and that was really something that did show me that she kind of like understood it. As much as, you know, when the prints, when I invited them to the exhibitions, they did not really understand the work per se, but they understood the emotions and perhaps what I was trying to also share, you know. Of course, at some point, my dad did feel guilty, you know, they did feel that maybe, yeah, some of the things I'm kind of like blaming them for, but I was not, you know, also because, you know, also growing up, I'd always question them about a better way of making money, you know, or of an income, you know. Can this tavern be turned into a bakery, for instance, or whatever, you know? So it was that, but yeah, and in the community, when they see the work, when I invite them in the market photo exhibition, I think most of them really also understood because they've heard stories, also from their parents, you know, and also from just the larger community, and some really also saw basic images, you know, and I guess questioned the sometimes the basicness of photography. You know, I think I'm also like maybe losing a plot in. But yeah, I guess in a nutshell, they understood. They really understood that this was my outlet. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I wanted to share something, like one of the, I think some things that have been driving me in terms of like, I've been, in terms of inspiration as far as photography is concerned. And this was before I started like the series Poppy Ace, which is something that led to me starting like one of like the first series I did, which was self-portraiture. There's a series of work Thembinkosi did, which was The Betterment Promised, where he was photographing like in a Muslim community. So I kind of fell in love with his text where he was speaking about the journey of like self-betterment. And I think it's where like it's one of the people who've always like inspired me, no other than Lindo Kuhle Sobekwe. I know his journey in photography, like that's I feel like that's also when I started like looking within myself, you know, trying to improve in terms of like character and um, and like inside like being in a journey like of self betterment, and also like this work which is laches, you know, like I've always like not necessarily copy, but in terms of like referencing ideas. So that's why I also decided like, oh, I thought it would be cool to also title my work Ipopies, because of like both of these terms are from like the Afrikaans language, you know. So like it was like slaches, which is like a slaughterhouse, and also being Hippopie being like a dollhouse. So it's a, I can say it's a mixture of play and like what yeah, because of like my mentor Jablani always speaks about like he calls it, like he calls them like happy projects in a way. So he always says like sometimes you, like he speaks of like a photography, the power of photography and what it can do to a person, not not something it can do for you, but something it can do to you. So not having to always poke your own wounds for the sake of creating an image, but you can always revisit your own wounds to sort of like find something that I can, some self betterment from there. So that's just a comment I wanted to make. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and Yeah. That's a wrap.